Good afternoon to you all. Let me start by saying how pleased I am to host the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, Luc Frieden, at the European Parliament today. Welcome, Luc. We know each other for a long time. Happy to have you now as Prime Minister around the European Council table. Luxembourg is one of the European Parliament's host nations and therefore a country that is especially close to us. And during this meeting that we've just had, we talked about the special link and, of course, very prominently about the upcoming very important meeting of the European Council. Particularly, we exchanged positions, also that of the European Parliament, on the need to support Ukraine. Here, I commended Luxembourg for its generous and steady assistance, and we will be very clear about the fact that next European Council has to send the strongest of messages. The Parliament's position is known. Ukraine is part of Europe and its security is also our security. So starting accession negotiations would send the positive signal that is needed and is deserved. We also talked about enlargement in the wider sense. Here, the position of the Parliament, which I communicated, is about the European Union needing to reform and get ready for a future union, whether it is of 32, 33, or even 35. Last point about the next few months ahead. We are entering the last legislative sprint as we approach the end of the mandate. We spoke about the upcoming European elections, the need to encourage people, especially young people, to vote. These elections matter, and Europe matters. And we are giving a chance to European citizens to be able to have a say on what direction the EU should take in the coming 5 years, coming off the back of a difficult 5 years before, but one where we have shown the unity that we have needed and the decisions that needed to be taken. So that's, in essence, what we discussed, and I give you the floor now, Luc.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, dear Roberta. When I was appointed Prime Minister only 2.5 weeks ago, I said in my first speech to Parliament that for the new Luxembourg government, Europe is key, and therefore I would make my first foreign trips to the European institutions. I delivered on that first promise, and that's why I'm very happy to have met today, just now, the President of the European Parliament. Indeed, we already worked together many years ago when I was Minister of Justice, and then and now I meet here somebody who is strongly convinced about European integration. That's something that binds us as persons, but also binds our institutions. The new Luxembourg government believes that Europe has been invented as an alternative to war. Europe has been invented to increase peace, stability, prosperity, and we know in Luxembourg the importance of the single market, of free movement of people, goods, services. All that we will be there on the side of the European institutions, of the European Union, to strengthen that in the years ahead. And that's why I gave this message to the President of the European Parliament, to the President of the Commission and the President of the Council. So that is the philosophy of the government that I have the honor to lead. The two political parties in the Luxembourg government share that view on Europe. Now this has to be implemented into various policies. I'm aware that the issues in front of us are not easy, but with that philosophy, I think we will move forward. We will discuss, and we have discussed now and in the at the coming European Council, the enlargement of the European Union. Enlargement is necessary to ensure that we keep this peace and stability. At the same time, the more members you have, you need to deepen the European Union. That, by the way, has also not changed since my last time in government. Enlargement and deepening goes hand in hand. This is not an easy process, but I think we need to keep European Union and therefore sometimes amend the rules or look for ways to improve our functioning, to achieve certain goals. So it is with that spirit that I look forward to working also with the European Parliament. The President mentioned that Luxembourg is one of the host countries of the European Parliament, and we are very proud to be one of the capitals of Europe. And I can tell you that we will do everything that the working environment for your people, for your institution in Luxembourg will be the best one. We are in a friendly competition with other places in Europe. That's very fine like that. But we want the civil servants of the European Parliament in Luxembourg to be happy and to find an environment in which they can exercise their work well in the interest of all the citizens of Europe. So you continue to be welcome. And finally, I, of course, invited also the President of the European Parliament, if time remains before the very important European elections, to visit once again Luxembourg. And you're always welcome, Roberta, in Luxembourg.
Thank you very much. Luke, questions?
Thank you. Diego Velasquez for the Luxembourg Award. One question for Madam President and one question for the PM of Luxembourg. Madam President, you mentioned the importance of the next European elections, and you said it should be elections that matter. Prime Minister Frieden already expressed some kind of skepticism regarding the system of the Spitz candidat. And do you think this is something important from a democratic point of view, which would make those elections matter more? And do you think it will happen in 2024? And to Prime Minister Frieden, the previous government was not always very keen on collaborating with the European Parliament when it comes to tax matters. Requests to come to the relevant committee in the Parliament were left unanswered or ignored. And also when the committee was visiting Luxembourg, meetings with the Ministry of Finance were not accepted. Will your government change this attitude and be more collaborative with the European Parliament? Thank you.
So thank you for the question on the Spitzenkandidat. The position of the Parliament is clear. It is in favor of a system of leading candidates. And it is one that I'm sure we will see over the next few months, where political parties, European political parties, come together in order to identify the candidates with which they will see leading the European elections. It is one that we have seen in the past with different experiences in 2014 and 2019. But it is one where I can tell you the Parliament will play its role. And just after the European elections, when we can see that the citizens have voted for their candidates to sit in the next Parliament, then the system will be put in place for there to be the vote on the person nominated President of the Commission. And it is one where I can tell you the Parliament will play its role, and our position is that it should reflect the outcome of the results of the election. That will not change next year, and you will see also from the report that was voted in the plenary a couple of weeks ago, the strongest of positions in that regard.
On your second question, which was addressed to me, my attitude is one of cooperation with the European Parliament, and so I will of course receive also personally relevant delegations of the European Parliament if they are mandated by the European Parliament, and if all major political parties will be present, I will gladly exchange with them. Parliament, the national parliament, the European Parliament is the expression of the will of the people. They have not been appointed, they've been elected, and so I think it's only normal that I talk to them and that we as a government talk to them.
Yes, Daniel Weber for the Luxembourg Public Radio. First question to the President of the Parliament. It's also ahead of the European elections. The Parliament has been in favor of a European Convention, also on reforms of the European Union. Member states are reluctant going this way. What do you expect as a signal ahead of the elections from member states? And to the Prime Minister, the last government, the last Luxembourg government was not in favor of having a discussion on the European Convention on treaty changes right now. Do you think, especially in view of the European elections and also of the conference on the future of Europe, that this would be important to have this discussion nevertheless ahead of the elections? Thank you.
So this has been quite a dominant feature of this mandate. If the pandemic showed us something, and that was the outcome actually of the conference on the future of Europe, that the Parliament was very happy together with the Commission to organize and host. And we have been organizing follow-up events. We held the closing session of the conference with the French President in the Parliament in Strasbourg, where there was a sense that citizens wanted more to be decided on a European level. The pandemic showed us that health should be one of those areas. If the war has shown us anything, is that energy interdependence could very well be part of a core European competence. If we look at the report adopted by the Parliament in the last plenary session, you will see that the Parliament would like that debate to happen. What is the report? Our contribution to a debate as to where the European Union can really look at itself and say, are we ready for enlargement once we take the political decision? Are our structures adapted to such decisions rather than expect so many changes to happen in the candidate countries or accession countries and only for us to realize that we ourselves was not ready. And all these are, let's say, part of a broader discussion on potential treaty change, but they are not mutually exclusive. And that's where I would welcome, of course, to have this debate with the European Council and with individual heads of state and government, also as we prepare for an election where we are asked as to what we want from the next 5 years. We are faced at the moment with existential questions. If we talk about the multi-annual financial framework, again, enlargement, big areas of legislative activity. So a big willingness to see from the citizens that they want us to do more to European level by explaining, but also taking on additional competences. So this is, of course, my position on behalf of the European Parliament. I understand that there are individual positions of member states, but I think it merits having a conversation and it merits having a debate, especially after the last 4.5 years, when we see what we've been through and what we've managed to do when nobody else thought would be possible. And that's, I think, kudos to all of us.
First, as you know, I'm a lawyer, and a lawyer likes sometimes changing texts. And the law is the expression of political choices. So I'm fundamentally not against a discussion about treaty changes. I only think my objective is first and foremost to deepen European integration. And I would like to do that as much as possible in a short period of time and therefore within the existing treaties. And therefore I think we can deepen the European integration while at the same time in the medium term also look at possible treaty changes. I would only like to avoid that we now concentrate for 5 years on treaty changes and forget to do the rest of the work. So I think one should always be open, also in discussions with the European Parliament, but also mainly and foremost with the people of our countries to discuss what would be the aim, the purpose of those treaty changes. And I think about that, as a good Democrat, I think we have to talk about that. But my priority is clearly to deepen the European Union, to enlarge the European Union, and if possible to do that in a short period of time, and that means within the existing treaty, while keeping the other option open and to have a fair discussion with our citizens and their representatives in the European and national parliaments. Thank you.
Thank you very much.